This episode is brought to you by Collector Mount. Mount all your old DVD, movies, Blu-rays, and records on your wall. Sounds good, Mike.
It's not just for DVDs and movies and such. I saw you could do comics as well.
That's right. Yeah, anyone that's
The
got
website's actually comicmount.com.
visit comicmount.com and enter code LATEFEE25 for 25% off your order.
You know what I'd like to get in the comic mounts?
Yeah.
The Archie versus Predator. That'd be sweet, like all of them.
Oh, God, that'd be great.
Those are some great covers, too.
Absolutely.
You know who I can do without? I can do without the people in the video store.
Which ones?
All of them.
This is Massive Late Fee with Mike and Mark.
Well, welcome everybody to Massive Late Fee. I've had a good week, Mike. Has your week been pretty good?
Yeah, it was all right.
Today we're talking about all the movies that we've seen and haven't seen throughout the year. As everyone knows, we don't usually give our opinions on movies that we haven't seen, but we always do also give opinions on movies we haven't seen. We break that rule every time. So yeah, we'll be doing that. But first, the news. Mike, have you seen any of the news that I've found throughout the week?
I guess. Oh, shit. What was it? There's something, from last week we were talking about. You remember how you said Friends was canceled?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Everything that we said last week is now not true anymore.
Yeah, they brought it back. I think they paid like a lot, like $100 million. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's
Could that possibly be correct?
That's right. I have no idea how Netflix makes money. I really don't, because considering a lot of the
volume.
Yeah, exactly. But considering the numbers that I've seen that they pay for different things, I have no clue. But yeah, they paid $100 million to keep Friends on for one more year. $100 million for 1 year of
I don't know.
broadcasting Friends.
Here's the reverse of that. If someone paid you $100 million to do nothing but watch Friends on a loop all year, would you do it?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh my god! And then the next day you buy $100 million gun and put a bullet in your head.
Oh well, I'd have a lot to leave to my family because all I would need is a stepladder and a noose. But
Nooses are cheap, people.
That's right. That if you learn anything from this podcast, you should learn that nooses are cheap. But so they did that, and also Kevin Hart is not hosting the Oscars anymore.
Oh yeah,
which we also reported on, because when we reported on it, that was true. It is no longer true. Apparently, he some homophobic tweets came up from I think around 3 or 4 years ago. And they decided that they didn't want to deal with that. Well, I suppose he decided they wanted him to issue an apology, and he said that he wouldn't apologize for it. He's grown and changed and everything since then.
And I think he's already apologized for it, is what he said too.
Yeah, and then in his statement saying that he wasn't going to host the Academy Awards, he apologized anyway.
Yeah, I saw that. I was kind of like, I'm like, well, good for him to not apologize. You already talked about it. It's not your fault if he can't do, a smidgen of research to see that you said these things. Mm-hmm. Because, who would think that something controversial would be on Twitter?
Right. Especially from a stand-up comedian.
Yeah, I hate it when comedians apologize, no matter like how offensive or like grotesque their comments are. It really bothers me because it's kind of like one of the last bastions of free speech.
I agree. I totally agree with you. I hate when they apologize too. I hate people getting offended at comedians. To me, intent matters. When a comedian makes a joke, like when Bill Burr, makes a joke about women or, gay people or something like that, or uses a gay slur in his stand-up act, the intent isn't to marginalize or denigrate, any kind of section of society. If you listen to him talk on his podcast or just in interviews, it's clear he doesn't believe these things. They're just jokes. A lot of times when comedians make jokes like this, it's in as in a satirical or ironic way to kind of highlight, different points of view that lead to marginalization. I think it's ridiculous. I hate it. I've always hated it. I don't think that he should not host the Oscars because of this, but it is what it is, and the Academy Awards are going to make the decisions they make.
I mean, I don't know who they're going to get better. I mean, I'm not a huge. I mean, I've seen him like on podcasts and stuff. He's funny guy. He seems. I've heard nothing about him being like a really nice person, off stage. But I mean, as far as like popularity, who are they going to get that's better than Kevin Hart? I mean, I can't think of a single person.
I don't know, and I don't know who they're going to get now. I think there was a writer from, I believe it was Deadline, made a very humorous pitch for him hosting. But I don't. It's in March, I believe, or February, late February or March, and they still don't have a host yet. That's not a great sign. But
do you think Billy Crystal is just like trembling next to a phone somewhere? In anticipation, I don't know if he has some weird disease. I hope he doesn't.
No, it's not. It's not like if you had said Michael J. Fox, which would
Or
have been
Robin
offensive.
Williams. Again, nooses are cheap.
Oh God. Oh,
Just ask David Carradine.
rest in peace.
Hey, Hollywood Hangman. That's all I'm saying.
Right? Yeah, we'll have to get into that at some point. But no. So the other news from this week is most of it's pretty terrible actually. But Paramount Pictures came out with a moving logo for a live action Sonic the Hedgehog movie, and people are
Why?
pissed. Why the movie? I have no idea. I don't.
Why?
I don't know what the point of any of this is. I don't know who they think are going to watch. Apparently, there are some hardcore Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, I would say I
Hedgehog
don't know
fans
what's
out
more
there.
surprising, that they're making a movie or that people are upset that they're not making it a certain way.
Yeah, and I don't understand why they're angry. It's kind of a dumb little poster. I don't know that. I think a lot of people are upset with the way he looks. And
I mean, of all like the video game spokesman, so to speak, he's like fourth, and the top three are Nintendo.
yeah,
I mean, why? I mean, Pokemon's Nintendo, Mario's Nintendo, Link, I would say, is a more well-known character than Sonic.
yeah, probably. I mean, like, Sega doesn't even really exist anymore, do they? I mean, weren't they bought?
I honestly don't. Do they? The Dreamcast is the last thing I knew from them, and that was all.
Oh yeah, long
Their
time.
biggest game on the Dreamcast was
No,
Spyro. Yeah,
God.
Spyro.
that's almost as bad as the TurboGrafx 16. Remember that one with Bonk?
Yeah, I remember I played that Bonk game. It was like at the store I used to play because I always wanted it. But back then, for some reason, TurboGrafx 16 was like way more expensive than anything else. It was like $300 for like a handheld.
Yeah.
Or was it? No, that was their handheld. I don't know what their normal system was, but it was just like ridiculous. I mean, their games looked really cool, but it was just like, like 3 times the price of like a Game Boy. And, you're going to have like way more games on a Game Boy.
Yeah, I had one. I had a TurboGrafx 16 that my parents bought me, I think, for my birthday one year. And I had.
You eat your cake with a silver spoon that year, Mark?
Apparently, I didn't realize it was so expensive. But
No, it was the handheld was. I don't know about
Okay.
the base system. The console was probably
Yeah.
fucking cheap. It was a piece of shit.
well, the cards were really tiny. But I had Keith Courage and Bonk. They were good games, but
Yeah, they were fun when I played them.
Yeah, but obviously not well remembered, and they didn't sell extremely well. But yeah, so
Yeah, it's not like you're looking to go see a Keith Courage movie. And then find someone's upset. Oh, that's not the way his hair looks.
yeah, a live action Keith Courage, and they cast somebody like Chris Hemsworth or something like that, and they say, "Oh, that's not how I picture Keith Courage."
That's Keith Coward, in my opinion.
But yeah, I don't understand why people are upset about this.
Or why it's being made. Who's going to see it?
Yeah, I don't know. I watched the Godzilla King of Monsters trailer. Did you see that one?
No, I didn't, and I will not be watching that.
It's it's a bunch of fighting, basically, and like Okay, so I haven't seen, disclosure for all the listeners out there. I haven't seen the King Kong, the newest King Kong movie, and I haven't seen the new Godzilla movie because I'm not really into the big giant monster movies. But basically, from my understanding, is Godzilla appears, in the movie. They kind of fight him. I guess he kind of becomes their friend at the end. I'm not sure exactly how that
I
works.
watched the movie and I don't remember how it ends.
But in this trailer, it appears as if there's just literally dozens of giant monsters coming out from, it looks like a mountain that was just like, I guess, lying there dormant is actually a monster back or something like that. And it starts to move. I don't understand what this world is. Where are all these monsters coming from? And if this
Is it Skull Island?
I don't know. But if this was the case, if this actually happened in our world, Godzilla would not, that wouldn't bring me comfort. Oh, we have a giant monster that's on our side. All of them are destroying the entire world.
The only comfort that I would get was if Keith Courage came to help us out.
That's right. He could.
Hey, wait a second. Do you think that's a metaphor for nuclear war? We're okay with our nukes, but the rest of the world we're disturbed by.
That's a that's a very interesting question.
Nah, they didn't put any thought into it.
Yeah, I think you just put more thought into it now than the producers did of this movie. But everyone that enjoys the big monster movies, I'm sure will like it. It looked like an action-packed trailer. But yeah, that's
Would you say it's an adrenaline-filled joyride?
yeah, I would probably say that it's way cool and heart-stoppingly fun. But the other piece of news, it was kind of a slow news week, but the other piece of news that I had this week is that do you watch Stranger Things on Netflix?
I don't watch it, and I have no intention to watch it.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I think you probably hate most of all is
Yeah,
it's
everything about it
nostalgia
angers me.
filled.
I hate nostalgia.
Yeah.
I hate the 80s. I hate child actors are the worst.
Actually, I will say I watched the show. I enjoy the show. They're kind of a rare exception. They do the child actors in this show do pretty well, but they came out with the list of episodes for next season, and obviously people
Are they all references to 80s shit?
not really. They have that 80s feel, but they're not necessarily 80s inspired, I don't think, except for one, which is my favorite one, the third episode. There are only 8 episodes. This is a trend that I like. I know a lot of people probably don't love this, but for years, probably 10, 15, 20 years, British shows have been like 6 episodes a season, 8 episodes a season, something like that. When there's so many places that you can see so many different kind of shows, instead of stretching out you can do 22 episodes a year with a sitcom, or even like a CSI where it's a formula. It's just plug, and all this it's all the kind of the same with little different. And I like some sitcoms. I'm not bashing the system, but I'm just saying that's more palatable when you have a show that has that's not episodic, that's a through storyline, and you have a continuing arc. When they try to stretch it out longer and longer, it's just filler, like The Walking Dead, which my wife loves and I like at times, but there's a lot of that show that is just filler.
I hate zombies in general.
Yeah, I know. But I think every time you say the word, we should have a drinking game on the show where every time you say the word hate, someone takes a drink, and then all of our listeners die of alcohol poisoning.
I can't have that on my conscience.
But anyway, so I like the trend of shorter seasons. Although some people are not as happy that it's not, longer. But
I agree with you. I mean, generally, even 8 episodes is stretching some stuff out that it doesn't really need to be stretched out.
yep, I agree.
Unless you're like Vince Gilligan or the Coen brothers, I don't really need to see like a 10 episode masterpiece from you. I don't care who you are.
But so the first episode is called Susie, Do You Copy? Episode 2 is The Mallrats, which I hope they get Jeremy
A
London,
reference or
Jeremy London, Jason London, to guest.
You gotta make sure you get the right one.
Yeah, or even Kevin. I would take Kevin Smith for sure. But yeah, so that's episode 2. Episode 3 is The Case of the Missing Lifeguard, which I assume will guest star Encyclopedia Brown.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Because that is the most Encyclopedia Brown title I've ever heard.
How hard do you think Kevin Smith got when he heard the title of the second episode of this?
Yeah, I think he was rock hard in his in his bedroom holding an Avengers comic. And just it's like
He probably has a comic out at all times, just in case.
finding Nirvana. But yeah, so then there's the sauna test, the source, the birthday, the bite, and the Battle of Starcourt. So that is the list of episodes for Stranger Things season 3. And yeah, so I hope everyone is looking forward to that. I know I'm kind of looking forward to it. Although I will say I like the show. The first season I thought was very good. Second season not nearly as good. And if they don't if they don't hit it out of the park with this one, my interest is gonna seriously begin to wane in this show.
I thought I heard this was the last season. Is that not true?
Could be. I don't know. Your intel is probably more up to date on that than mine.
Let's hope so, huh?
So now, speaking of things that I know that Mike doesn't know, even though we were talking about the opposite of that, we'll get into our popular segment, Educating Mike, where I read a plot summary or a comic book, something like that, to Mike to kind of broaden his pop culture horizons. Today I've found something that doesn't actually exist, but the idea of it existed. Way back in 1996, you may remember that Joel Schumacher was in the middle of making his Batman movies that he took over for Tim Burton. Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, which were both horrible movies. And this is the basically what I'm going to read you is the plot summary for Batman Unchained.
Oh wait! You know who they should have got for those Joel Schumacher ones?
Who?
Those would have been pretty good if they were Adam West movies. You know, like that style of Batman.
I agree, because that's what happened was the reason that they brought Joel Schumacher in, and the reason that the tone of those movies are what they are is because Tim Burton made the first Batman film in 1989. It was hugely popular. Everyone loved it. And he got a little more creative freedom on the second one, Batman Returns, which I actually like, but I understand why is largely unpopular with people.
I think Danny DeVito is great in that. He's just disturbing.
Yep, I really like the weird take that that Tim Burton went with it. But he ended up getting more creative control and created a very weird, off-the-wall, disturbing, not-for-kids Batman movie. And the advertisers, like McDonald's and some of the other big brands, were horrified and did not want to be associated with the project. And the sale of those toys and those kind of media partnerships made a lot of money for Warner Brothers Studio. And so they decided to go in a different direction with Joel Schumacher, with the edict to him that the films from here on out needed to be lighter, needed to be more fun, more kid-friendly.
Oh man, I wish I could have seen some of those McDonald's toys for Batman Returns.
Right? The penguin looking like a deformed like little person being fed fish.
Yeah.
Christopher
Did you ever see
Christopher Walken just for no reason? in the movie. He's great in the movie, but like he's just so weird in it.
Yeah, I'm not really sure who he's supposed to be or what he does in the movie.
I think his name is Max Schrenk, either Shrek or something like that. I think
something like that. Yeah,
and I don't think he's based on a comic book character. I could be wrong about that because I don't have a huge base of comic book knowledge, but I think he's an original character. But yeah, I don't know what he's doing in that movie either. But what were you saying?
Oh, I was just saying, there's this like great SNL sketch that like basically sums up all these like tie-ins like movies for kids' toys.
Oh yeah,
it's back from like the '90s. It was when they had toys for Philadelphia, the movie.
oh my god.
Yeah, it's like they all have like their own like special vehicles and stuff. Like it's just make no sense. Like even like when they made toys for like the Terminator, they have like vehicles that are in the movie and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Just because like, hey, what? And then at one point, the kid who's playing Tom Hanks' character just like punches him and goes, "I have AIDS."
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's really pretty good.
That is hilarious. Oh, that is how that is. I mean, that is how it gets too. But Batman Unchained was the planned sequel to Batman and Robin. It was going to be written by Mark Protosevich, and Joel Schumacher was coming back to direct. They canceled it because Batman and Robin did not do well in the theaters and was also completely hated by critics. And we didn't see Batman again until Batman Begins. But George Clooney would come back as Bruce Wayne. Chris O'Donnell would be back. Alicia Silverstone would be back. And the movie was going to feature, and there'll be a few other people coming back that I'll get to in a minute, but the movie was going to feature Jonathan Crane, aka the Scarecrow, as the main villain, and Harley Quinn as another villain. And basically, the plot of the movie was that Harley Quinn was going to be the daughter of the Joker as opposed to her girlfriend, or his girlfriend, in this movie. And she was angry at Batman for killing her dad, Jack Nicholson, because all these movies are supposed to take place in the same universe. The Tim Burton Batman movies and the Joel Schumacher Batman movies all take place in the same universe, even though Batman changes appearance frequently and demeanor, and the entire tone of all of them are way off.
Right.
But so she's pissed at him, and she teams up with the Scarecrow to create a like some kind of nerve gas or something like that to make Batman think that he's insane and get him thrown into Arkham Asylum. Now here's where it gets kind of great. They offered the role of Harley Quinn to Courtney Love, Kurt Cobain's widow.
Murderer. Widow.
We got to save that for the conspiracy theory podcast. But and for the role of the Scarecrow, they offered it to Nicolas Cage.
See, I think Nicolas Cage would make a really good Scarecrow, not because he's crazy in real life, which he is, but he's actually a really good actor.
Yeah, and
Courtney Love, on the other hand, I don't think would be good at all in that role. But I'm sorry, what were you saying about?
I was just going to say about Nicolas Cage, especially when he is a really good actor, especially when he plays kind of like off the wall type characters, because he's a very unique actor, or he can be. He also can be just classically good, but unfortunately, he just chooses a lot of shit movies to be in. But
he's in a lot of houses to maintain, as we've learned from his former financial manager,
right? And Tyrannosaurus Rex skeletons and shit. But
and original copies of comic books, all that stuff you need to do a bunch of shit movies for.
Yeah,
that's Johnny Depp.
But oh god, but he I think I agree. I think he'd be really good in this role. Courtney Love around this time, I think, was in The People versus Larry Flint. So I can.
Yeah, I know she had a lot of buzz, because she was in that and got a lot of acclaim. But she was basically playing Courtney Love in that movie.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily think that she would have been that good in this role. Although physically, I can see her in this role.
See, I would disagree. She like Harley Quinn in the comics, like is like really chipper looking, like has like a really like happy-go-lucky kind of attitude, and
Right.
Courtney Love looks like she's been through some stuff when you look at her.
That's true. That is.
I mean, she doesn't look like someone who's like, oh, like how Harley Quinn is in the comics and stuff. That just does not seem like her. And again, I don't think she's really a great actor, actor, or whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. But yeah, this one was supposed to be darker in tone, I suppose. They were going back to the dark tone, as they say. But this would have included probably the most expensive single scene to ever be filmed, because one of the scenes in the movie was going to be Batman hallucinating all of his old villains, putting him on trial. Because the whole theme of the movie was going to be, Batman's demons, Batman's fears, and stuff like that, and him exercising them. The end of the movie was going to be him traveling to Bali, I think, to go to a cave with a bunch of bats in it, and they were all going to swirl around him as he just stood there kind of smiling, signifying that he'd gotten over his fears. But it was going to include Batman hallucinating his ex-villains, his rogues gallery, putting him on trial, and it would have brought back Jack Nicholson as the Joker, Danny DeVito as the Penguin, Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman, Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face, and Jim Carrey as the Riddler. That's right.
What about Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze?
That one they didn't explicitly name. I would assume he'd probably be in there too. But they were all going to like judge him. And, Jack Nicholson in 1989 made somewhere in the neighborhood of around $50 million to be in the Batman movie. Because, they really wanted him badly, and they offered him gross on the film, which they almost never do now. And he made a ton of money from the gross of that film. And it's funny too, because Danny DeVito and Jack Nicholson are really good friends. And when the second movie came around and they offered Danny DeVito the part of the Penguin, he wasn't sure if he wanted to do it or not, and he called Jack Nicholson up and he asked him his advice, and Jack Nicholson said, "Just get the same deal I got," which no one could really get. Although I can't imagine anyone else playing the Penguin, who was, popular or anything at that period of time. So, he probably had good negotiation position.
Right.
But yeah, so they were going to do that, which, they would have had to pay Jack Nicholson God knows how much to get him back to do the Joker, let alone all those other stars they would have had to pay as well for this one scene.
Yeah, like Jim Carrey was like really big at that, or, right after that, he was like super expensive.
Yep. And there, there's a funny joke too, or not a joke, there's a funny story about Tommy Lee Jones and Jim Carrey on the set of that movie, where Jim Carrey came into a restaurant and he saw Tommy Lee Jones there, and they had been filming for a little while, and he kind of, said hi, came over and everything. And as Jim Carrey tells it, he says that Tommy Lee Jones looked pained to see me. We shook hands. He kind of patted me on the back. He leaned in and he said, "I hate you. I really don't like you. I cannot sanction your buffoonery." So getting them back together would have taken some money too, I imagine.
That's funny because you can totally picture Tommy Lee Jones saying something like that.
Oh yeah, and I can picture him hating Jim Carrey, especially around that era Jim Carrey, where he's all huge and big.
Because I know when he was in The Man on the Moon, he like really got into the character. I wonder if he was like, in that movie, he really got into like the Riddler kind of persona, which is being like a jackass constantly.
Right. But this movie fell apart obviously because, one, the Batman and Robin did not do well, as I said before, and two, after George Clooney saw Batman and Robin, George Clooney said, "I'm not going to do any more Batman movies." George Clooney dropped out and said that he wasn't going to do it. And quite famously, he has said that if anyone stops him on the street and mentions Batman and Robin, he just pulls out his wallet and gives them money. He just
Nice.
says, "How much did you pay for your ticket?" And if it was like $10 or whatever, he just gives them $10 and apologizes.
As he should.
Oh,
I
so
don't think he was a bad Batman. I mean, Val Kilmer was really an odd choice because he doesn't look anything like Bruce Wayne.
I think George Clooney was a good Bruce Wayne. I don't think he was a great Batman necessarily. But like you said, if you put Adam West in those two movies and do it in that style, or someone like Adam West, kind of a younger.
No, I mean, if those are like for the original like series and like they were like, like the mid 70s, late 60s, oh my God, those would be like the biggest movies ever.
Yeah, oh for sure. But yeah, that would have matched the tone so much better. But yeah, that's educating Mike for the week. Before we move on, before we move on to our year-end review show, there was one other thing that I wanted to bring up, and I cannot remember what it is off the top of my head.
So speaking of going off on a tangent,
Sure.
you know what I would have loved to see, even if it was just like a standalone movie and no connection to others, I would have loved to see a Christopher Nolan Riddler movie. That would have been awesome.
Christopher Nolan, what?
You know how he did the Batman movies?
Yeah.
I mean, if he had done like one, but the main villain was the Riddler, that'd be awesome.
Oh, Riddler is what you said. Yeah, I agree. I think that could work. I mean, obviously, the Nolan movies were much more grounded in reality than a lot of the comic book movies, and the Riddler's sort of a, more bombastic sort of comic booky type villain. But I could see that. I think that he could have done that.
Yeah, I mean, in Batman, the animated series, he wasn't like super campy. I mean, if it was like that kind of style, I thought it would be pretty good.
That's true. Batman the Animated Series was one of my favorites. That was one of those comic book things that I actually got into. Like, I never really read comics, but I watched Batman the Animated Series, and I watched the X-Men Animated Series, too.
Yeah, that theme is an earworm for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Batman the Animated Series is probably one of the best, like, adaptations of Batman, period.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I think that's as close as you get to the. He's actually a detective in that series.
And Mark Hamill as the Joker is like, wow, he's like the best Joker of any version I've seen. I mean, obviously he's animated, but whenever I think of the Joker, I just think of Mark Hamill as the Joker, not that piece of shit Luke Skywalker in those god awful Star Wars movies.
I can't wait till the new Star Wars comes out, so that we have to talk about it. But yes, I agree. He is the best Joker for sure. He nails it. He nails, in a voice performance only. Basically, he nails every lilt, every mannerism. It's divine. But it's time for an ad. It's an ad time now, Mike. That's how you set that up, right?
Oh yeah.
So today we are sponsored by Collector Mount, and their website's actually comicmount.com, but they're I don't know what sadist got collectormount.com.
Buffalo Bill, I think.
But comicmount.com is your home for Collector Mount. So this episode is sponsored by Collector Mount, who is now introducing the new DVD movie Blu-ray mount. With the Collector Mount products, you can mount it all. You can now display movies, DVDs, Blu-rays, magazines, trading cards, albums, comic books, CDs, books, and video games. There are 5 different mounting options to choose from. The DVD movie Blu-ray mount is a clear, adjustable frame system. You can get these movies up on your wall or onto any flat surface, as it can be used as either a wall mount, which is adjustable, or a shelf stand. It's the perfect display option and also pops your collectible off the walls, driving a cool 3D effect in the design. It's invisible, It's easy to install, it's adjustable, and it's affordable at just $4.99. You have to check these out. Collector Mount is offering our listeners, yours and mine, a 25% off coupon. 25% off already the low price of under $5 on all their products. The coupon code is LateFee25. And this code is, you can use this code by going to collectormount.com. The coupon will be available for the next 3 weeks. So hurry up and check out these products. Again, go to collectormount.com and use coupon code LateFee25.
Well, I'm surprised these are only $4.99. I'm looking at them and like they're really impressive. Have you? I haven't gone to the website yet, but just the examples they have are really, really nice. I thought it would be way more than.
Yeah, me too. And these products are fantastic, and they're great for they're great for a man cave, or if you have like a game room or something like that. And
She Shed.
Yeah, exactly, a she shed.
All your fucking Steel Magnolias movies in there or something.
But yeah, they are awesome, and they look fantastic. You have to see the pictures of these things, but yeah, they look absolutely great, and yeah, I mean, they're a great gift for anybody. So if you and the other thing is, now that everything is digital, all the great artwork from old albums, old DVD covers, and things like that. They have one I know that fits Laserdisc too. So those things are now just like sitting around, but that artwork is still fantastic and great to look at. And these.
Yeah, it's one of the tragedies of digital stuff is like the art of the lyric book is gone.
Yeah, absolutely.
The liner notes for CDs or records or even cassettes.
And this is a great way to display that stuff, and it just really sets a room apart. So definitely check that out at collectormount.com and enter the coupon code LateFee25 to get 25% off. You will not regret it.
Do you collect anything, Mark?
Not really. I don't. I used to collect Stephen King books. For one, and I used to collect coins, like for maybe about 6 months or so when I was 12. But I'm not a real big collector of things.
Yeah, my family, we kind of collect these. Have you seen those pop figures?
The
vinyl figures?
The Funko figures or something?
Yeah. We like those. So, when we find something we really like we have, some Futurama ones and that kind of stuff.
That's cool.
I don't know. It's just gonna be. Yeah, I don't know if those would go in there, but it's really neat. I'm not just saying for the ad's sake. You can put comics in there, like you can see your beloved Van Halen album is on there too.
I know, I love it.
And someone even has like their number from like a marathon. That'd be kind of like a cool montage. If you did a lot of racing, as you and I both do a lot of.
Exactly. Yeah, we're the two best racers in the world.
Two best on the whole podcast.
That's right. Yeah, we have a good 40 time. That's what they say, right?
I guess if we're going to the NFL Combine, which we are.
Yeah, that's right. Mike and I will still do the podcast, but we will also probably be in the NFL next year.
And I'm also declaring myself eligible for the NBA draft right now. I'm not represented by an agent. Agents, you know where to find us.
That's right. Any agents out there that want to sign Mike, who is probably going to be at least, I don't know, like a top 5 draft pick at least. I would get on the phone right now.
Hey, I even believe we landed on the moon, unlike some professional basketball players.
Yeah, I had a little fun with that, where Steph Curry doesn't believe that we landed on the moon. I don't know why people believe this stuff. I know there's a lot of conspiracy stuff out there that seems to poke holes. I'll tell you what, if Stanley Kubrick did fake it, and because that's the one they always say, if they hired Stanley Kubrick to fake it, there's no way that he would have let Neil Armstrong's flub stay in the movie. where where he says
Nice.
where he says one giant leap for man, or one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. He would have stopped that and said, "No, do it again. It's one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind. Man and mankind is the same thing."
Yeah, actually, I guess that actually he actually did say that. People thought he like flubbed it, and they have like, but it was just like really distorted for some reason.
Yeah,
Probably because it's like thousands of miles.
yeah, because he was on the moon.
Yeah. Oh my god, that's just I don't know. When people talk about that or like the flat Earth, it just angers me. I don't even want to bother discussing it because I feel it makes me stupid or just entertaining the thought that this kind of stuff happened.
People argue about enough nowadays. It seems like people just argue all the time, which is exhausting. But when they start arguing about things that are provable facts, not stuff that you can actually have an opinion on, it's just like, yes, the Earth is round. We've known that for a while.
Right.
We have evidence of that. We have pictures of that.
And old Johnny Red would have said something if we had faked it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's funny. If we faked the moon landing, why didn't Russia ever call us out on it?
Yeah, and I think we have reflectors up there that they place as well.
Yeah.
We can like shine like a laser. I don't know if it's for distance or just because they thought some jackoffs would years later doubt that they did that.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. I think they wanted to see maybe how long it took for light to travel between the two or whatever. But anyone obviously you have to have a certain equipment to do it, but any layman or professor or whatever kind of scientist out there with the equipment can do it, and people have where they you shoot a moon, or you shoot a laser at the moon, and you record with your instruments that it reflects back and it's the right amount of time and everything. So yeah, that's we're not really a conspiracy theory podcast, but that's our take on that.
The Hollywood Hangman lives.
So now we'll get into our movies that came out this year. Our end of the year rundown. Lots of movies came out this year. Lots of movies I saw. Few movies you saw. I guess the best way to do this is probably to start at the beginning of the year. And one of the first ones that came out that I saw, I remember it came out around the Super Bowl in January, was The Cloverfield Paradox, which attempts to sort of tie in the Cloverfield, the original Cloverfield movie, and 10 Cloverfield Lane. I don't know if you've seen any of these three movies, Mike.
Yeah, I actually think I saw most of the Cloverfield Paradox. But I saw all of 10 Cloverfield Lane. I really liked that one. I thought that was a really good, like a super long Twilight Zone episode. And that's like some of my highest praise I can give anything is compared to the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, 10 Cloverfield Lane I think is the best of the three movies. I saw the original Cloverfield as well. I thought it's okay. It's basically, it's a big monster movie though. And I'm not, a huge fan of those. But so 10 Cloverfield Lane is fantastic. John Goodman is absolutely great. But it's one of those cases where I think that it was a different movie. Basically, it wasn't necessarily.
Yeah, that's what I heard too. They just kind of like, oh hey, I have money and you need funding, so
yeah,
Cloverfield.
Yeah, because it was almost like a secret movie. Like all of a sudden it came out and it was like, oh, this is another Cloverfield movie. But I'm kind of glad that they did that in a way, because I don't know how many people would have seen the movie besides that. And it's a really good movie featuring some great performances. Elizabeth Mary Winstead is great in the movie. John Goodman's great in the movie, or Mary Elizabeth Winstead. And yeah, so I like that movie a lot. The Cloverfield Paradox I was not as fond of. And
I'm pretty sure I gave up on it at a certain point.
They really go a long way to try to tie all these movies together with parallel Earths and parallel dimensions and stuff like that. It's a mess. You just imagine someone taking kind of every cliche that you could think of in science fiction, throwing it on the floor, sifting through it, and then saying, oh, and also all the parallel stuff too. So multiply all this shit by infinity, and this is what we're trying to talk about in the movie. I don't love it. It's probably my least favorite of these. I think there's a reason why it came straight to Netflix. I know it was popular for the time, but it was not well received critically.
Wasn't that also like not promoted and like suddenly it's like, oh wait, there's a Cloverfield movie on.
Yeah, I think it was maybe like a week before the Super Bowl. They're like, "Oh, by the way, after the Super Bowl, this is premiering," and they really. It was one of those. It seems like every Cloverfield movie just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, I don't know what that's all about,
but yeah,
whatever.
Obviously featuring Slusho and some of the J.J. Abrams staples of this universe. Everyone tries to do the same thing that Marvel did, or everyone wants that kind of cinematic universe because of the success that Marvel has had with those movies, but no one wants to put in the work. No one seems to stop and say, "Oh, yeah, they did take 10 years to build this. They did start slow and small and, kind of built out before they brought everything together." Everyone wants everything to be together immediately. And that's why none of these other ones work.
Whenever I look at, like, I see previews, and I think I saw some of the Justice League, it was like on HBO or something. Mm-hmm. Some of those movies are just entirely CGI. Like, that's all I see in the movies. I see, oh, look, here's a giant alien, and here's some robots flying at us. It just looks like there's no story or character whatsoever.
Right. Yeah, I don't get it at all. But yeah, I'm telling you, they have failed big time. But the next movie that I have on my list, I actually saw this as well, unfortunately, because I had to review this for Michigan Sports and Entertainment. 50 Shades Freed. I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that you have not seen this one, Mike.
No, I haven't seen any of those movies.
This is the only one I've saw because I had to see it because I had to review it.
For everyone out there, I just want to let you in on a secret. There's this thing called pornography now. It's great. You don't have to watch this 50 grades of, whatever, teasing, or I don't understand what it is.
It's horrendous. I don't think many of our listeners will be fans necessarily of these movies, but it's terrible. It's one of the worst things that I've ever seen. Another bad part about it is that, first of all, it's supposed to be empowering to women. It's not in any way. He's supposed to be super kinky, and all their sex is basically missionary style, plain Jane stuff. They don't do anything freaky at all. I don't know if the books are different, although from what I've heard, E.L. James, had pretty much total control over this, and I guess it's supposed to be a pretty faithful adaptation. It has a weird, stupid subplot where there's, first of all, there's like someone stalking her. There's some kind of weird danger. He doesn't want a baby, and she does. They didn't discuss this at all before they got married. Just all of it's all ridiculous. It's all dumb. It was a terrible film. And, if you want to make...
I hated this movie.
Mm-hmm. If you want to make a sexy film empowering women, shoot the sex scenes from the woman's point of view. I know that female bodies are more attractive to look at, but at least give the women some, semblance of being in her shoes. It was terrible. I hated it.
See,
it was awful.
I don't know that women want to see that. I don't think women are very visual when it comes to that sort of thing.
Well, and that's part of the problem with taking this from a book to a movie, because when you're reading a book, it's all about your imagination. I can see why some women would like that. Obviously, these kind of books have been popular, not necessarily to this degree, but have been popular for a long, long time. So I get it. But but when you translate it to the screen, I think it loses a lot of that. And,
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, that's sort of. I mean, it's not every single woman, but men seem to be more visual when it comes to that sort of thing. So, a movie naturally is more, intriguing to a man than a woman as far as that sort of thing goes.
Right. But yeah. So anyway, the next film after this is Black Panther, which I also saw, and I'm sure you didn't.
I did not see this movie. Well, I think the guy who rips off the Wu-Tang thing, which I'm not too happy about.
Oh yeah, that's right. He does. But anyways,
I did hear a funny joke about the movie, though.
Okay.
I'm gonna mess it up though. Okay, there's two actors from The Hobbit in this movie, correct?
yes, there are, right. Oh, I know what joke you're going with. Go ahead.
Okay, well you can tell it because I've already ruined it on my end.
Okay, so somebody said that this is why you can't, because I can't remember their names either.
Andy Serkis, I think, is one of
Yeah,
them.
Andy Serkis and
Is it Martin Freeman?
Yes, that's right. Andy Serkis and Martin Freeman are in Black Panther. They're the Tolkien white guys.
That was a pretty bad joke.
Yeah, we have to get a crickets.
Better you than me.
But yeah, that's
Is that joke still under construction?
But I liked Black Panther, although I will say that when it came out, people were talking about it as if it was like the greatest movie they'd ever seen. Total.
Like it was Schindler's List or something.
Yeah, it's not. It's not even the best in the MCU. It's a very good movie. And I understand why a percentage of the population, notably African American people, think of it as a sort of game-changing movie. In that aspect, it is, because, it's a movie populated almost entirely with African American characters that made over $1 billion. And that, that doesn't really happen. Like, people will bring up Blade as far as, like, black superheroes. And it's like, yeah, but Blade was, I think, almost the only black guy in that movie, and that movie certainly didn't make over $1 billion.
What's kind of interesting, and this was obviously a different time, but Wesley Snipes had wanted to play that character for the longest time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because there's such a few. I mean, there's not really a lot of great like African American superheroes. I mean, Green Lantern is, and Green Lantern's like one of the most powerful heroes of all time.
Mm-hmm.
I think Falcon.
Yep.
From the Iron Man guy or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's really not Storm, of course. Who could forget Storm?
Right. Yeah. What?
That's who.
Well, you know what? You know what happens to a frog when it's struck by lightning? The same thing as everything else. What a fucking terrible line. Someone wrote that line. It went through editing. It went through so many checks, and Halle Berry didn't say, "I'm not delivering this line." It had to go through so much to get into the film.
She was not a good choice to play Storm at all. You know who would have been a great Storm?
Who? Chong?
And I was going to say Chong, but I pulled him back. No, Angela Bassett.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree with that.
Because I mean, she's obviously taller. And she has like a really strong like physical presence. Because Storm in the comics, at least, is worshipped as a god before she joins the X-Men for some reason.
Yeah, she's one of the most powerful ones too.
Yeah, she's one of the leaders of the X-Men, much better than that lame-o Cyclops.
Yep.
But yeah, Angela Bassett, like especially in the movie Strange Days, she's just almost like a looming presence. She would have been great for Storm.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I want to interrupt real quick because I want to get back to, I was sort of freaking out over here
Okay.
with our sponsor, because, everything that I've put up on our social media, and we mentioned comicmount.com, and I was afraid that we were basically promoting a different website. But apparently comicmount.com and collectormount.com are the same thing, and Buffalo Bill does not have it because when you put in collectormount.com into your browser, it just becomes comicmount.com. So they're They are one and the same thing. So collectormount.com, comicmount.com, either way you go, it's going to get you to where you need to be.
And just to clarify, our sponsor is not a serial murderer.
No, not at all. We would never besmirch the name. That's easy for me to say. We would never besmirch the name of our wonderful sponsor by implicating them in a series of grisly murders that occurred in Oregon and Seattle between the years 1999 and 2005.
The only thing this guy's slashing is prices.
That's right. Oh, okay. So Black Panther. I think I've said everything I need to say about it. It was good. I liked it. Enjoyable movie. Not the best in the MCU. Definitely an important movie. I hope that Hollywood takes a page from this and says, that that comic book movies are so powerful that it doesn't matter what race the people are. They'll still make billions of dollars. That's the message they're going to take from it. But obviously, African Americans like seeing themselves represented in comic book movies, and I don't know what the percentages are as far as between white and black for comic book fans, but obviously there are a ton of African American comic book fans out there, and they like seeing themselves represented, as anyone would. So I hope we get a little more and the thing I like about Black Panther is it's a different kind of story. I think that's another reason why it's popular. It's not as cookie cutter as a lot of them, but I think that it had the chance to be really, really good if they had done a few different things. I wrote a review of it that you can see on MichiganSportsAndEntertainment.com, where I kind of go into more detail about what I think they could have done a little differently to elevate it, kind of like The Dark Knight and Logan, into a strata of this is not just a good comic book movie, this is a good movie, period.
Oh, just real quick, I'm a bigger comic book fan than you are, obviously.
Yeah.
So like back in the 90s, maybe early 2000s, I think it was the 90s though, they had a pretty interesting concept. They had like Marvel, writers reimagine DC characters.
Okay.
And I think Stan Lee actually did this one. It was like as if Stan Lee had invented Batman rather than, whoever, I don't remember the name, sorry.
Oh, it was, okay, so there's an interesting story about this. It was Bob Kane. Bob Kane's always been credited with it, but apparently Bob Kane was like, "Oh, we should have a kind of vigilante superhero." And Bill Finger came up with the backstory, the fact that his parents were killed, that he dressed like a bat, and like all this other stuff. And for years didn't get the credit for it. It just went to Bob Kane. So Bob Kane and Bill Finger, basically.
Okay, well, anyways, in this one, Batman was a wrestler. Like he was like a pro wrestler who wore like a mask the whole time.
That's interesting.
And he was actually African American. So I mean, like pretty much, I can't. I mean, I know people will say Superman's like the biggest character, but honestly, Batman is like the biggest superhero character out of all of them. I mean, that would have been a pretty interesting take, Although I don't think most people would have got it, because it's clearly like a reference to a very specific, limited, like fantastic type comic concept. But I mean, that's just kind of an interesting. The take on it was really interesting. I liked it.
Yeah, I'd like to read that one actually. I'm thinking about. I listen to a lot of YouTube channels and podcasts that have to do with comic book stuff. Even though I'm not a big comic book fan, I don't know what the stories behind them fascinate me a lot, and I think that's what draws me to them.
Kevin Smith does one called Fat Man on Batman, and then I'm not super familiar with the character, obviously not to the degree he is. Like, it's really interesting. They talk about the character, like people who've played him, and and I think his friend Walt Flanagan actually wrote a couple comics for Batman. And he's it's a really interesting, just to listen to about that specific character.
Okay, yeah, and I will definitely check that out. And I'm a big Kevin Smith fan, as you know, and listeners of the show know. Those stories, the stories behind all that stuff, really fascinates me. Like I said, and I've been thinking about maybe kind of getting into comic books a little bit more. And I would definitely be interested in checking out that Stan Lee take on Batman. That sounds really interesting.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was. It was. I mean, if you're familiar with the different brands, you know, DC and Marvel, it was definitely much more Marvel-esque because Marvel's like more like rooted in like the streets, whereas like DC will have like characters that are aliens or like the entire comics are in outer space fighting like extra dimensional threats and that sort of.
Yeah. Where do you fall in like DC Marvel? Do you like DC more or Marvel more?
See, I stopped reading comics a long time ago, but I was always a Marvel fan. I never really read much DC.
Okay.
But I think, but later, years later, when I was, you know, long out of comics, like a lot of people I know would talk about comics, and they always talk about DC, and like their characters are like very intricate. They're almost like science fiction-esque in the way, you know, they're like aliens. Like the Green Lantern alone is like just fascinating. Some guy I used to work with just told me about that. And Batman, like, see, the problem is it's such a long run that I mean, it's like, oh, when he almost dies, it's not a big deal. Or like, oh, he you know, he's having a midlife crisis. That's not a big deal, you know.
Right.
But Batman, like some of the runs on Batman are some of the best runs on comics you'll see. I mean, there's like Alan Moore was a writer for a long time.
Yeah.
I think Grant Morrison as well, and
Yep.
Neil. I don't think Neil Gaiman did. But yeah, there's a lot of like, you know, prominent writers for that and like artists, and like it's just like The Killing Joke is like you could just get the graphic novel of that. It's one story, you know, from beginning to end, and it's, you know, iconic. It's referenced sometimes in Batman, but yeah, I think DC is probably like the more mature sort of comic, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But I think that might be part of their problem when they come to making the movies, because I think people in general are bigger fans of Marvel. I think it's more popular because, you know, the X-Men, Spider-Man, the Avengers, there's a lot of really cool characters there.
Right.
I think you probably could have like almost like a more adult movie if you did the DC comics correct. Like if you, I mean, I don't know that they'll ever do another Green Lantern movie again, but if they
Yeah.
did it like, you know, in the style of like the actual character and like, you know, like maybe you took like a slow pace, like a 3-movie arc, you could probably really tell a really good story about the Green Lantern.
See, and I'll probably piss off a section of our listeners when I say this, but I think the biggest problem with the DC universe is that they allowed Zack Snyder to control it. And I don't think that Zack Snyder understands. I mean, I don't either. But you know, so I'm not trying to sound superior or anything, but I don't think that Zack Snyder understands the characters or understands the universe.
Yeah, I think Zack Snyder in general just strips away anything but exciting visuals. Like that was my big problem with the Watchmen movie. It looked amazing. Like
Yep.
the opening scene where they're playing The Times Are Changing, that montage. Oh my god, that's like ripped right out of the comics. It's
Absolutely.
like the perfect song, the camera angles, you know, the slowing down. It's just I watch that by itself sometimes. It's just such an amazing part. The rest of the movie, though, just glossed over the substance. This is a very substantial comic. It's philosophical, you know, it references literature. It's like, you know, it's a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece amongst comics. And it's just
Yeah.
like, let's just have a bunch of cool fights and stuff.
Right. Yeah, and this is one of the few comics I have read is The Watchmen. And like when we talked about The Watchmen before, like I said, I think there's a big divide amongst people who have read the comic don't like the movie and people who haven't read the comic like the movie.
Yeah, there are two completely different stories that the exact same things happen with the same characters and it looks exactly the same, which is ridiculous, but that's what it is.
Yep. Just chewing on some ice here. So the next few movies, I don't have a ton to say about, but Game Night was a comedy with Jason Bateman, which was kind of a surprise because I like Jason Bateman a lot. I like Arrested Development a lot, but a lot of the movies that he happens to be in is not that good. Although I hear Ozark, the show that he's on, is very good.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I saw the first couple episodes. I really need to go back and watch it. Probably watch it with my wife because we're looking for a new show to watch.
Okay.
I really I liked him in Extract. Did you see that?
Yes, I like that movie a lot too.
It's like a typical Mike Judge movie where it's not like you necessarily laugh out loud, like hilarious, but it's a really, really good movie, and it's definitely funny in part.
And that's the thing. Like a lot of the movies he's in that I don't like are not really his fault because, you know, when he's paired with a good writer, with a good comedic writer or a good team, like on Arrested Development, like in Extract, like surprisingly in the movie Game Night, because the movie Game Night is a surprisingly really funny movie, or surprised me anyway. But when he's paired with someone like that, like with pretty much every actor, then it's successful. There are not very many actors.
Sandy Duncan.
Yeah, that's right. When he's paired with Sandra Duncan, you know,
Josephine Bateman.
What about
Justine Bateman?
Justine Bateman? Yeah, it's his sister.
Oh, she was on Family Ties, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was. They both, and I don't know if they got caught drunk driving or something like that. This is speculation. I'm not saying this ever happened, but I don't know why they agreed to do this. If it was some kind of community service thing that they had to do, but they did a video together with Ted Danson called what is it called? Oh, damn it! It's about relationships and like about having sex and stuff like that.
What?
Yeah, it's like an instructional video, like an instructional DVD.
What?
Of like,
Brother and sister instructing?
yeah. Well, I mean, not like here's how to have sex, but it's like how to deal with guys wanting to have sex with you and like things to say and stuff like that.
Okay. How does Ted Danson factor in?
Ted Danson's basically like, you have to see this at some point. I think it's on YouTube. But they they like, he's basically saying like he's the narrator. Ted Danson's basically the narrator of it, and they keep cutting back to Justine and Jason Bateman, and they are like kind of giving advice too, and there's a bunch of really there's a bunch of real kids in there that are saying when he says like, oh, I love you and stuff like that and everything and yeah, so they're like basically trying to give advice. There's a musical number in it. It's crazy. It is. I
have to watch this.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the name of the video right now. It's like,
it's all right. We gotta go on, Mark. It's only February.
How can I tell if I'm really in love?
Oh,
That's what it's called. It's from 1992.
Wow.
I guess. Well, one thing says 1992, one thing says 1986. IMDb says 1992. Okay. So how can I tell if I'm really in love with Justine and Jason Bateman and Ted Danson? And like I said, I don't know if they went out to a party and they all decided to get into a car and drive and they got pulled over and their sentence was, you have to be in this movie. But yeah, you can find it. I think it's like an hour long, but you can find.
Oh, that's too long.
Remember the days of VHSs where like people just came up with these ideas of like, hey, let's we can do this as an instructional video, or we can do that as an instructional video and sell it for $10 and sell like 5,000 copies or something like that, and just like really bad production quality, and we'll make it in a day and we can make some quick money. They used to do that all the time in like the late 80s and early 90s.
Yeah, now that's called YouTube.
Exactly. That's. And people say that all the time. It's like, oh, when I was your age, I didn't have YouTube and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, it's not exactly the same, but we had these tapes and they were everywhere.
Yeah, and you can like find them for free sometimes.
Yep, absolutely.
What kills me about YouTube is someone will do something terrible and like put it out there and then be upset when people criticize it.
Yeah.
Like, especially with like guitar videos, like, oh, here's me playing, Crazy Train. It's like the worst rendition you've ever heard. And then if you like comment on it, they're like, "Oh, I'm just learning." It's like, well, why put that out there?
Yeah, if it's not your best work, don't put it out. That's the problem with no gatekeepers. And we're independent creators too. We are not part of. In case you couldn't tell by the complete lack of professionalism in our podcast,
no script here, people.
Our podcast, we're not part of a corporation or anything like that. We're independent creators. As is our amazing sponsor, CollectorMount.com.
I don't think you can redeem yourself on that one.
I write books that are on Amazon, for purchase and stuff like that, as I've mentioned once or twice before. We're independent creators as well. I don't hate the creative or the independent creator movement at all, because we're a big part of it. But there is something to be said for gatekeepers, because you can go to a lot of independently published books on Amazon, pick one up and start to read it and say, okay, this person really should have gone through probably a few different drafts and maybe even just scrapped this one as a learning experience and wrote another book. Because like people will just write something, and if they get it finished, they put it out there and they have almost no input on it. Their friends and family read it and they're like, oh, you're so great, because they're friends and family. But you really need, like with independently creating things, you need outside gatekeepers. You need people that are not, like your loved ones, who will brutally tell you an honest assessment of whether something's good or not, because we all need that. And yeah. So that's
I mean, it's for better or worse, like years ago, like people who aren't necessarily good looking wouldn't be successful and know where they should have been in some, fields like music or acting, that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, it's probably better than worse. You get at least some sort of quality, but then again, if you look at sitcoms, you're like, well, maybe you don't.
Right. Yeah. Oh man.
I'll have to check out this game night movie. I mean, if you say it's funny, it's probably funny. I have a similar sense of humor.
Yeah, it's not. I wouldn't call it like, it's not hilarious. It's like, don't go in expecting it to be super funny, but it's funny. It's an amusing movie. I liked it. There's a lot of comedies I don't like. Both you and I, like you said, we kind of have similar tastes in comedies, and there's a lot of comedies that just fall really flat for me. But this one surprised me. It was amusing.
What do you have next on your list?
A Wrinkle in Time, which I saw.
Before
terrible.
that, I just like to mention a movie that I see it's on the list that came out in March, but I did not see it.
Okay.
The Death Wish remake with Bruce Willis.
Yeah, okay. I did not see that one, but I know it was there.
Yeah, I just don't understand. That's another example of why call it Death Wish. I mean, there's so many vengeance-type movies. There's no sense in tying it to a character that most people don't even know these days. I mean, I'm obviously a great American. I'm familiar with Paul Kersey and his antics in the city of New York.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I think I've seen every Death Wish movie, and I like them.
Yeah,
but not this one, because why?
I think it's that first one gets a little racist at times.
Yeah, the first one's a brutal movie. Like that one or the second one. I think the second one actually. There's like a rape scene with Jeff Goldblum at the beginning of the movie. It's just a very dark.
Yeah, it is. But it is still. I like them too. Except for certain parts of them, because it certain parts haven't aged super well. But
no, like when he shoots a guy in the back for stealing a purse.
Yeah, but yeah, the Bruce Willis one I heard bad things about. It doesn't surprise me, because it's a reboot. It's Bruce Willis. He doesn't care about things anymore.
Other than the upcoming movie Glass that I think we both want to see in January. I don't really see myself seeing any Bruce Willis movies, not on purpose.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we saw that. I forgot to mention that in news that we saw the
breaking news,
the trailer for Glass, and yeah, I'm really excited. Unbreakable is my favorite of M. Night Shyamalan's movies. I think it's probably even technically the best one, as from a technical aspect that he's directed. I'm really excited to see this movie too. You had a theory about this movie that really frightens me because of how absolutely plausible I think it is. Do you want to tell him?
It's just a weird there's the scene in the new trailer where they're all sitting in a room in the asylum at the same time. And as you also pointed out, that we don't have any reason to expect that Bruce Willis's character, David, I don't remember the last name.
Dunn.
Yeah, we don't even know why he would be in an asylum. So I just speculated, hey, this is an M. Night Shyamalan movie. Maybe they're all different aspects of the same personality.
Yeah, that they're just all part of his split personality too. And you said that, and I was like, oh God, no. I was like, I don't want it to be true because I don't like it. But man, it's so plausible.
Yeah.
It's like I can almost not see. It's like one of those magic eye pictures where once you see it, you can't unsee it. I almost can't. I I almost can't think of any other way he could do the movie now besides that.
You'll be white knuckled at the last part.
Yeah, no shit. Because it's gonna come to a part where it's David Dunn and he looks into a mirror and it's James McAvoy, like it's fucking Quantum Leap or something.
And then and then Glass puts his hand on his shoulder and he looks back and no one's there.
Yeah, and then he breaks the glass, and then it just says glass, and then like you said,
And then you see M. Night Shyamalan in the reflection.
yeah, and then M. Night Shyamalan just comes out with a big smile on his face. What a twist! Oh my god!
Oh, I hate how he puts himself in all his movies. Like that's
Oh, I know. It's like a Hitchcock thing, but because he loves Hitchcock. But it's funny because Hitchcock would do that in his movies, but like Hitchcock didn't give himself any lines. You know what I mean? Like very rarely was he any kind of integral figure in any way in the movie. He usually was just standing in the background somewhere, and it was more just like an Easter egg type thing, like a Where's Waldo? Spot the large British man.
Yeah, eventually he started putting himself at the beginning of the movies because people would be distracted looking for him for most of the movie.
Yeah.
And M. Night Shyamalan is no Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah, and in Signs he gives himself the crucial piece of dialogue of saying, "I don't think they like water." And I remember saying to you when we saw that movie, I remember saying, when the writer and director of the movie says that he has a theory about the aliens, I probably believe it.
And I like how he really undersells that. I don't think they like water. It melts them when it touches their skin.
Yeah.
I could be wrong here. I mean, I know I killed your wife, so I owe you something. They might not like water. I don't know.
Oh, my God.
Like, say, I don't think human beings like cyanide that much.
Right?
Well, you're not sure? I don't know.
And obviously it's been mentioned time and time again, but the Earth is 2/3 water. Why did they come here? It makes no sense.
I heard a theory recently. I don't know why I was even bothered reading it, but someone speculated that the aliens are actually demons.
Interesting.
Yeah, I guess. Not that interesting, but just kind of a different take on it, I guess.
I guess it goes
I'm
along
sorry, you
with
said
the
you,
religious thing.
I guess. I'm sorry, you said you saw A Wrinkle in Time?
Yeah, it's terrible. That's all we really need to say about it. It's bad.
I like the books a lot.
Yeah, I never read the book. The movie is
really good.
Movie's garbage. The movie's a bunch of
Was Oprah in
CGI
that?
garbage. Oprah was Oprah in it. I like Oprah in a lot of different things. She is when she really puts her mind to it, is a very, very good actress. Like in the
She's
Color
like
Purple.
her. Like I think I mentioned before, Whoopi Goldberg. Like I don't know why they don't act more. They're both really great actors.
Absolutely, yeah. Whoopi Goldberg too. I agree. But she, she gave a good performance, but not quite up to her normal standard of performance. But she was probably the best thing in the movie, I would say.
That's fair.
Saw Tomb Raider and Pacific Rim Uprising. Tomb Raider's terrible. Pacific Rim Uprising was better than the original Pacific Rim because it knew that it was flashy trash. Like Pacific Rim, I think tried to be like this more important movie than it was. Pacific Rim knew that it was a popcorn movie, complete mindless action, and it totally leaned into it. If you like that stuff, and I like that stuff every once in a while, it was fun.
Yeah, I didn't see either of those. I think isn't Idris Elba in those? I like him. He's pretty good.
Idris Elba's in the first one and not in the second one. And the second one is John Boyega from Star Wars. John Boyega's very good too.
I don't know. I don't like Star Wars, so I probably don't like him.
John Boyega is charismatic as hell. Like he's just one of those guys. Like trying to think of somebody else that meets the same. Maybe like a young Harrison Ford. A really young Harrison Ford. Yeah, like a Ted McGinley, exactly. But just like, you just like him, like he is very charismatic. And so, I enjoy him in different movies he's in. Next, I saw Ready Player One. There's one shot in the movie that feels like an actual innovative kind of cool shot, and it's where up in the future everyone lives in trailers, and the world is a nightmare landscape of pollution and global warming and whatever. But all the trailers are stacked on top of each other. They call them the stacks. Steven Spielberg, he kind of, we see the main character in his thing, the camera pulls out to where we can see the whole stack, and then it slowly follows him down in one unbroken shot of climbing down the stacks and and different things. And in each window there are people hooked up to by virtual reality to this world where everyone kind of lives, and we see them doing different kind of cool things. So there's constantly changing visuals in the shot. It's a really cool shot. It's at the very beginning of the movie. It's the only work Steven Spielberg put into the movie at all. The rest,
And that's probably CGI'd, huh?
the rest of it is garbage.
I mean, like the camera might be. I don't know.
Yeah, but yeah, it's. I didn't like it. There's a lot on here that I didn't like. I used to think that I was very forgiving of movies because people would say like, "Oh, that movie's not very good," and I would think I kind of liked that movie. Like, and I just got this in my head that that I was really open-minded and liked a lot of different movies and was not like super judgmental. And then I started watching movies because I had to review them, and I realized I just didn't watch a lot of movies. And I ended up picking good movies to watch because once I started watching a lot of the movies that came out, I realized I hate most of this stuff.
See, there you go. I hate most of it too, just a little more than you.
So then next I saw A Quiet Place, which was a good movie. And actually, a good theater experience. I could see how your enjoyment of this movie would hinge on your theater going experience here. The theater that I saw it in was completely silent. No assholes chewing, like popcorn or like loudly opening cellophane. Because as the movie would suggest, there is almost no dialogue in the movie at all. They communicate via sign language, and there's closed captioning, obviously, or text, for the so that we know what they're saying because they don't assume everyone knows American Sign Language, although it's becoming a lot more popular to know. But most of the movie is completely silent, and it was a riveting experience to watch it. Now, there were some parts at the end where they reveal the weakness of the monster and kind of they're a little
Water.
no, well, it's actually sound. But they're a little heavy-handed in the way they do it. But other than that,
Does the director come out and say, I don't know, I don't think they like sound very much?
well, almost, because John Krasinski directed the movie and he stars in the movie alongside his real-life wife, Emily Blunt. No one says that. No, like there's no one. It doesn't go that far. No one actually says anything. But at the beginning of the movie, there's a newspaper with the biggest headline size I've ever seen. Like there's no room for print. That's how big the headlines. And it just says it's sound. Because apparently the story of the movie is some aliens or something came to Earth. They're horrific looking monsters, and they can't see. They have no eyes. Almost like Tremors, only they're above ground.
Ooh. Okay, now we're talking.
And so what attracts them is sound. If you make a noise, they know where you're at and they come and attack you. So the few survivors that are left have learned to not make noise. And that's, it's sort of a horror movie, but what I like about it a lot is it's really about the family, the husband and the wife, and they have 2 kids, and she's pregnant while all this is going on.
What? So why would you have more kids?
Yeah, I know I mean, either find a condom or pull out. I mean, I don't know why I don't know why she wanted to get pregnant again, but she's pregnant in the movie.
Okay.
And so it's a lot about their family, and you really come to care about their family, and that's the strength of the movie. And to convey all of it without much dialogue in the movie at all. It's very good acting. It's very well directed by John Krasinski. It's a good movie for sure.
I've read a little bit about this. Isn't one of the actresses like actually like use sign language in real life? Like
Yeah,
she's
yes.
like hearing impaired.
Yeah.
Well, here's a question about this: is she able to get a SAG card? Because don't you have to have a speaking role?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Maybe since it's such a big part, or maybe their like sign language is considered to be speaking.
Yeah,
I'm just curious.
I assume they make exceptions because I know you don't like the Star Wars movies, but I'll bring up Star Wars again. At the end of the Force Awakens, the first new Star Wars movie that they did, they're looking for Luke Skywalker. They find him at the very end of the movie. Mark Hamill's not in the movie until the very last shot, basically. And Rey is trying to hand him a lightsaber. That's Rey is the female star of the film. And
Yeah, I know about it. I've heard. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, and he just kind of looks at her, doesn't say a word, and then it fades to black. And I remember when I watched it the first time, I turned to my wife and I said, "Do you think they just paid him scale because he didn't have a speaking role?"
I heard he made like $1 million for that movie.
Yeah, so they obviously make exceptions to it, and I would assume that that they'd make an exception for her.
And he's already got a SAG card, so it's
Yeah, he's had one for a long time.
And I just want to make a point here. The monsters are not called Tremors; they're technically the Graboids.
Yeah.
I would be remiss if I didn't correct.
Well, I wasn't saying that they were like the Tremors monsters necessarily. I was just saying the movie's kind of like Tremors in that respect.
Whatever helps you sleep at night, pal.
I would never disrespect the memory of Kevin Bacon, because I haven't seen him in a movie in a long time. Kevin Bacon, or what's the name?
Michael Gross.
Yeah, Michael Gross and Fred something. I can't think of his name.
Reba McEntire's in it too.
Yeah, that Tremors is great. We should do an episode on Tremors one time. I love
Yeah,
Tremors.
the first one's good. I tried to watch the other ones, not as good, and that's saying something.
Yeah, I started the second one, and my watching of it didn't last very long. But I love the first one.
Yeah, my friend Matt and I were like, hey, all 5 Tremors movies are on on demand. Let's watch them all. And no, we watched the first one and the second one. We're like, okay, we're done.
Oh.
You know what else came out at the same time as A Quiet Place, which I don't think you've seen?
What?
Chappaquiddick.
No, I have not seen Chappaquiddick, and I kind of wanted to.
I haven't seen it either, and I have no intention to. But I would love to watch this movie with Norm Macdonald. That would be the best thing ever.
Oh, yeah. For those of you that don't know, Chappaquiddick is about the time that Ted Kennedy killed a girl.
No, he wasn't in the car, as I recall.
Who, Ted Kennedy?
Yeah, didn't he appear like hours later?
No. This is what happened. Now, when I say he killed a girl, in order to avoid lawsuits, I'll say, for all we know, it was an accident. Well, I mean, it was an accident, but
He didn't kill her on purpose.
yeah, definitely didn't kill her on purpose. So
I guess if he would have strangled her or something, by the time they found the body, there'd be no evidence of that.
That's true, but that probably didn't happen. It was his mistress. They were driving. He was probably drunk, allegedly drunk. He drove he crashed the car off the bridge into Chappaquiddick Creek, which I think is on Martha's Vineyard by their house, their summer place. He unstrapped himself, got out of the car, swam to the surface, got out of the car, left her in there. Don't know if he tried to save her or not, or if he just peaced out or what. Obviously he didn't save her and didn't go down with her. Just left. Hours later, he appeared at the house soaking wet. His story changed a few different times, and then eventually they landed on a story but it basically destroyed his presidential aspirations because it was a huge scandal, and his driving contributed to the death of a woman.
Yeah, but that's I might want to watch that. That sounds kind of interesting. I have to see if it's on any of the streaming services I subscribe to.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's there yet, but I assume that it will be soon. It's definitely one that I think I want to check out. And
Yeah, you're a student of history, and I know you're interested in the Kennedys in specific. We watched that. What was that movie? 13 Days in October?
yeah, well, it's just called 13 Days, but yeah.
I know I always call it 13 Days in October, but yeah, that was a pretty good movie,
Yeah.
from what I recall.
I like that movie a lot. But yeah, the next one was Rampage with The Rock, where they made it out of the video game Rampage.
Didn't see it, but I like the game a lot.
The game's really good. One thing that I don't like about this movie is that I think Marlon Ackerman or whatever her name is one of the bad guys and girls in the movie, and they have in their office the Rampage video game. So the Rampage video game exists in this universe where they created something called the Rampage virus that just so happened to mutate the exact same animals that appear in the Rampage game. I hate that, and I did not like the movie at all.
Yeah, it's I think The Rock's in the movie.
Yes.
Again, I have never seen a movie with a rock in it, and I have I don't know why. It's just I think I would have with the sheer amount of them that are out there.
The Rock is
I might have seen.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think I might. He was at the end of one of the Mummy movies, wasn't he? At the end of Mummy 2 and I actually think that's the same incident where the movie meal happened.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, he was the Scorpion King at the end of one of the Mummy movies in the worst CGI I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, that was really bad. And you were about to Ted Kennedy a guy with a fucking movie meal.
Right.
And we're trying to watch The Rock in his big screen debut.
But The Rock is a very good actor, very charismatic. I like him a lot. Just about every single movie he does is terrible.
Yeah, I like him. I didn't know he was a good actor. I would assume he's a bad one. I like him as a person. He seems like a cool guy. No desire to see any of his movies.
Yep. I hope that he's in a good movie soon because I'd love to see him in a good movie. But the Rampage was not that. Next is Super Troopers 2. Did you see that one?
I did. I saw it in the theaters. I was really looking forward to the movie.
Yeah. I liked it. I didn't love it. But I liked it. I think they could have done more given the amount of time that was between the original Super Troopers and the second one.
I think there was a lot of budgetary limitations for it.
Yeah.
Because the entire movie was crowdfunded for like $4 million or something like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, you have like Rob Lowe's in there. I don't know that he's commanding, millions of dollars to be in a movie, but I mean, he's not cheap, I would imagine.
Right.
I mean, it's probably a big part of the budget. I'm sure they want to pay themselves too. I mean, the opening scene's pretty good.
Yes.
Where they're like, they become a band. I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, it's pretty funny. Mm-hmm. Sean William Scott, who I'm a big fan of, is in that as well.
Yep. I think he's underrated.
They got everyone back. They got Brian Cox back, which was nice because who doesn't like watching Brian Cox in a movie?
Absolutely. I know you like watching Cox in movies.
Brian Cox, yeah. Not Big Juicy Cox.
I love you too, baby. That's my daughter. Awake at 11 o'clock at night.
You mean 7 p.m., right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the actress who plays Marissa was in it again. She's she's good in that. Mm-hmm. For some reason, the Spurbury police chief wasn't in this movie.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But yeah, what did you think of it? Did you?
I thought it was okay. I mean, I would have liked it if it was a big budget, but not too big of a budget, because the strength of the first movie is there's so many great jokes and like little things. They're not expensive. They're not like big CGI effects.
Right.
There's a lot of like really just like funny jokes. I mean, they reference them a couple times in the sequel. Mm-hmm. I'll have to watch the sequel again because the first movie I've seen like probably 20 times, which is a lot of times for me to see a movie.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 sober. But I really do like that movie. It's the first movie is a classic. That was a shock. I did not like the previews were terrible.
Yep.
It looked like a really stupid movie. Like I think the previews were just sort of really a big reason why a lot of people didn't see it in the theaters.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, I really like the first one. I'm a fan of them in general. But yeah, out of all their movies, I'd say that's probably the weakest. Super Troopers 2.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, just someone give them $15 million. Someone give them $15 million to make a movie. That's not a lot of money. The movie will probably make like $45 million or $50 million or something like that. It's not going to be a huge hit, but you'll make more than your money back.
Yeah, that's definitely a group I would like to see a lot more movies from. I mean, they probably have 4 or 5, maybe 6. There's Super Troopers, Club Dread, Beer Fest, which is probably my favorite.
Yeah, I love Beer
Puddle
Fest.
Cruiser, the Slammin' Salmon, Super Troopers 2. I think that's all of them. I might have missed one.
No, I think that's all of it.
But yeah, I haven't seen the Slammin' Salmon either. I don't know how that is.
I haven't seen that one either. That's the only one I haven't seen.
But yeah, I mean, I like them, but just Super Troopers 2 was just like kind of like, I don't know, like they didn't have the desire or the money or something. Something was missing.
Yeah. Oh, so after Super Troopers 2 was probably the biggest movie of the year that I know you haven't seen, Avengers Infinity War.
Did not see it.
I loved it. I've seen it several times since the first time that I saw it, which is rare for me to go back more than a couple times to a movie. But it's so funny because there's like 37 characters in the movie, and somehow it's not a clusterfuck. It should be by all rights, but the Russo brothers know exactly what they're doing with these characters. They know exactly how to frame the story, and they break up the Avengers and the Guardians of the Galaxies and all the different kind of people they bring into the movie. They break them up into different groups, so it feels a little more like there's not. Well, the main story is basically the story of Thanos, but the heroes are all kind of sort of B stories, but they still make it feel like everything is building towards a conclusion. It's a master class in how to write a script and how to structure a film. That's to me, as far as like storytelling, that's the biggest plus from this movie. And I even watching it, I still don't know exactly how they did it or how they would even start to go about it. But it's a very satisfying movie. If you haven't seen the other movies in the MCU, it's you'll probably be kind of lost. But if you have, it's a very like satisfying kind of reward. I felt like it was a reward because, as I told you, I watched like 18 of their movies over the course of a week so that I could review Black Panther. So I felt like, this is an enjoyable movie. This is my reward for sitting through all this.
Is it on Netflix?
I believe it is, yeah.
I'll tell you what. I'll if I can stand it, I'll try and watch the whole movie this weekend, and I'll give you a review next week.
Okay, that sounds good. Next up is Tully, which I didn't see. I heard it's good. Charlize Theron, who is a very good actress, is in it. And I can't say anything about it. I heard it's good. I want to see it. I'll probably get back to it at some point.
Yeah, I've never even heard of this movie.
I think she has some mental problems in the movie, I believe. It's kind of one of those what's real, what's not real, maybe. Maybe not. I don't know, because I haven't seen it. Next up is Deadpool 2. I think we both saw that, right?
Yeah, I saw this in the theater. I kind of passed out drunk about halfway into the movie.
Okay.
And by halfway, I mean about 10 minutes. But then I saw it again, and it's okay. What do you think?
I liked the first one a lot better. I think the first one, there were a couple things in the second one that I thought were innovative and stuff they kind of did differently that I thought was cool. But I thought a lot of the humor was sort of the same, not sort of like a little bit of recycling. I would have.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, I kind of felt it was like the same movie, that we saw, and then there's a couple extra characters. I mean, there are funny parts in it for sure. Mm-hmm. I kind of felt that it suffered a bit because I believe they cut T.J. Miller's part quite a bit because there was some controversy over, I'm not sure, something at the
Yeah.
time with T.J. Miller.
Yeah, I think it was sexual
Which,
assault. Or
if you know
something.
T.J. Miller, there's pretty much always a controversy with T.J. Miller.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I liked his character in the first one. You know, their back and forth was pretty funny. I like the added characters. Domino was pretty good. I liked her.
I liked her a lot,
Um,
yeah. Zazie Beats, I think, is her name?
I guess I don't know. But I did like too that that all the heroes, they just like took out basically almost like immediately were all like violently killed.
Yeah.
Stuff like that where they set something up and just like throw it all away in a moment is just always the funniest thing to me. I don't know why that makes me laugh so much.
Yeah, I
But,
thought
like
that
in the
was
movie
good.
MacGruber, I saw like a little bit of that movie. They kind of did that in that movie. They just like killed off like half the characters right away.
Mm-hmm.
I always enjoy that.
Yeah, I do too. I thought that was funny in that movie. That's one of the parts that I thought was like, okay, this is something different, and I like this.
Yeah, there were some big cameos. Like Matt Damon plays one of like the redneck guys when Cable first appears.
Yeah.
Brad Pitt's the invisible guy. So like he like right when he dies, you're like, oh, that was Brad Pitt apparently the whole time,
Yep.
which was a nice little joke. I mean, it's not a bad movie. I'd watch it again, but it's not my first go-to.
Right. Oh, so then we've got Solo, the Star Wars story. I'm gonna have to go through some of these a little quickly because we're running kind of long. But Solo, the Star Wars story, I liked it. What I liked about it is that, or one of the things I liked about it is that I'm so sick of all the Star Wars porn stuff, and it had like none of that. It was just a like self-contained story about this guy Han Solo in his early life. I enjoyed that. Ocean,
Yeah, I like the idea of that, but obviously I wouldn't see it.
right, out of principle. Ocean's 8, which was the all-female Ocean's 11 rebootish sequel kind of movie. I thought it was fine. I didn't love it. I don't like the Ocean's movies. I like the original one, and I'm sure this will be controversial because I know a lot of people hate on this movie, but I like the original Ocean's 11 with Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin and Sammy Davis Jr. because I'm a big fan of the Rat Pack, and that that movie's probably terrible, but my love of the Rat Pack kind of makes up for it. I'm sure it's a film of its time more than anything else now. But
Yeah, I saw part of it with you, and like I'm like they're just singing for like long stretches in the movie. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not very interested.
yeah,
Because when I think of thieves, I think of their singing.
right. But I wasn't like the original, the remake of the Ocean's 11. The first one I thought was fine. I'm not a big fan of it. I didn't really like Ocean's 12 or Ocean's 13. And this one I feel like is probably on par with the first one. I think it's better than Ocean's 12 and 13. On par with the remake with Clooney and Pitt.
See, I thought the Brad Pitt, George Clooney, Ocean's 11. I thought that was a fun movie.
Yeah.
I mean, there was like a lot of like neat little twists. I mean, it was very implausible, which always bothers me when it comes to like thievery in movies. But yeah, I mean, it was fun. But I mean, I didn't really have a need to see the 12 or 13 or anything.
Yeah, you're not missing anything. And, this one's, like, fine. There's some plot holes in it, but, it's not really worth talking about. Ocean's 8's fine. If you want to see Ocean's 8, go ahead and see it. If you like these kind of movies, you'll have a good time. I'm not a huge fan. I'm more like you when it comes to the heist movies, where I like more, like, intricate and kind of... like detailed planning and stuff like that, where you can see the thought process behind everything. It's like, oh, that's ingenious. I like that.
Yeah, like the movie Heat, I think is probably my favorite
Yeah,
movie.
exactly.
It's a very long movie, and there's big parts that could just be straight cut out of the movie. I don't really care much for the whole story with his wife and her child, even though I mean I understand it's interesting, it's part of the character. I mean, if it was just like 4 more heists in the movie instead of that stuff, I would love that movie so much.
Yeah. Next was The Incredibles 2. I saw that with my kids. I didn't like it as much as I like The Incredibles a lot. I didn't, this one was fine. There was like 2 scenes in it that I thought were really cool when the baby starts like showing all of its powers and attacking, has a fight with a raccoon outside is a really cool and fun scene. Other than that, it was it was just fine.
See, this might surprise you. This is my favorite movie that I saw in theaters this year.
Really? Okay.
I liked it more than the first one. My oldest daughter, she's 10 now. When the first one, I mean, she would watch that thing almost every day, and I liked it. It was good. It was fun. I didn't think it was the greatest. I really like Jason Lee in the first movie. He's like a great villain in that.
Yep.
And I like how they tie it all in at the end, like, oh, he was a little boy. But The Incredibles 2, I thought was even better. Like, I like the whole scene with Elastigirl, which is on her bike that can split apart.
Okay, yeah.
That's really cool. The opening scene's really good too. It's like really like kind of like scary when they're on the big digging machine and they're trying to pull it apart.
That frightened you, huh?
Well, I thought it was like really like imposing. It was like really like it was almost like realistic, even though it was like incredibly implausible.
No,
I
I'm
mean,
just
it's obviously a
messing with
cartoon and a comic.
Yeah.
And then when they show the fight with Screenslaver in the like in the basement, that's an amazing scene. Like it's obviously. As a warning at the beginning is, if you have an issue with like flashing lights, that is not the scene for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that, like a lot of people gave out warnings after seeing that for people with epilepsy, obviously, thank goodness. And I've never heard about anybody having a big like issue with it or anything because I think they kind of stayed away from it, which was good. But yeah, that's the other scene that I was talking about that is, it really well done scene.
And I think this is also one of the movies where the bad guy is actually correct.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the means by which he goes by it are not the correct way to do it, but essentially what she's saying is like people are just like enslaved to like their screens, their cell phones, their TVs, their computers. I mean, I'm guilty as much as anyone else of that, but I mean, she's essentially saying, go live your life. Don't be stuck in this, machine.
I agree, and don't be a slave to screens, people. Be a slave to your headphones. Put your headphones in and just listen to our show on a loop and rate and subscribe it.
Yeah, that's what the movie was saying.
Exactly. That's the point of Incredibles 2. Listen to this podcast.
The next movie, what do you have? Jurassic World?
Yeah.
I didn't see I've seen a lot of the Jurassic Park movies. I didn't see Jurassic World or the second one. They don't seem to be. I mean, I'm pretty much over seeing dinosaurs. I mean, gee, will they escape this time? I mean, Jesus Christ, build a better fucking cage for these.
Yeah, they're the first one I didn't really like that much, but this one.
You mean Jurassic World?
Yeah, not the original Jurassic Park. I love that movie, but the original Jurassic World I didn't really like that much. This one is terrible, and it sucks because the director, and I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but the director's a really good director, and some of the direction of this movie is really good, but the script for this movie is awful, and the whole thing is just terrible. I mean, we could do a whole episode where I go into how much I hate Jurassic World and why I hate Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, but suffice it to say, there's a clone in the movie of a little girl. She ends up letting out all the dinosaurs at the end of the movie because she says they're alive like her, and it's like, oh my god, so is steak, but you still eat it.
The Ebola virus.
Yeah, exactly. It's so ridiculously stupid. My oldest daughter, who's 13, and I laugh about this one scene all the time because we watched it together. There's a scene where one of the raptors who are friends with the human beings jumps out of a room that's like exploding. It's like one of those classic shots where it's like a fireball and it lands on this scaffolding, this like stairway thing. And the CGI is so bad that it just looks like they took a rubber it looks like they took a rubber like a rubber toy and threw it at the stairs. It's awful. But yeah, so maybe one day we'll talk about because they're going to come out with another one of these things. So maybe before they do that, we'll go through like all the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World movies and give our takes on them. But next was Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's another Marvel movie. It's fine. Marvel generally makes decent movies. that are fun to watch, popcorn movies. This is no exception. It's not anything important in the world of cinema. It's not even anything important in the MCU. But, you know, I like Paul Rudd. He's fun in the movie. It's a fun movie.
We actually skipped over a couple.
Okay, go ahead.
Sicario, Day of the Soldado.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
I didn't see that or the first one, but it sounds like something I'd like. I think Benicio del Toro's in it. I don't know if he's an assassin or like a police officer trying to find the assassin. That sounds like a movie I would definitely enjoy.
Oh yeah, that's one we could definitely check out. I'd watch it. I don't think a lot of people have talked about it, so we could definitely do an episode on that.
Another movie is Uncle Drew.
I haven't even heard of that one. What's that one about?
Oh, this movie is ridiculous. And the premise is that, I really should look this up to be definitive.
Okay,
it's a basketball player.
If you want to look it up, I'll go through a couple movies while you look it up.
Yeah, I'll look that up real quick.
Okay, so the next movie I saw was Eighth Grade. I don't think you saw that, right? Oh, I think he's really gone. Okay, so
yeah, no, I didn't see that. Isn't that? I think Bo Burnham.
Yeah, the comedian. Yeah, he wrote and directed it. I loved this movie. I thought it was very good. Probably one of my favorite movies of the year. And part of the reason could be I have an eighth grader. The actress in the movie is playing a character named Kyla, and she is 13 years old. My daughter's also 13 years old. I watched this. I saw this twice. I watched it once by myself, and then I watched it with my daughter, and both of us really enjoyed it. One of the things that this movie gets right is Bo Burnham clearly understands the internet, clearly understands, YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and Snapchat and all that stuff. And this movie does the internet or integrates the internet into its narrative and into the movie better than any movie that I've seen. And it's just a very solid, heartfelt story of this girl that's like a lot of other girls growing up in America now, and kind of what she goes through. And the big thing is she has social anxiety. And I guess Bo Burnham suffers from some pretty bad social anxiety as well. And he wrote this movie kind of almost therapeutically to sort of explain, how those things make him feel and kind of what he goes through and everything. And the actress that plays Kyla, I'm trying to remember her name off the top of my head. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she absolutely deserves an Oscar for this movie. She is fantastic. It's in my opinion, easily the best performance of the year, maybe the best performance of the last 5 years. But she nails this part, and it's almost like a one-woman show, kind of, because she's in pretty much every scene. She absolutely carries the movie, and Bo Burnham did a fantastic job in writing and directing it. But this movie doesn't exist without her. I can't even imagine anyone else in it. Elsie Fisher, that's her name. And Elsie Fisher, I know, listens to the show. She doesn't. But she's fantastic in the movie. The next movie I saw was Equalizer 2 with Denzel Washington, based on the 1980s television show Equalizer, sequel to Equalizer 1.
Is that what that's been? See, when this came out, I hadn't heard of an Equalizer 1.
Yeah, it's Equalizer. He did a movie called Equalizer. I think it came out a few years ago or something like that. But it's based on an '80s TV show. It's not good. I heard it got some pretty good reviews though. I don't like it, but I don't like these kind of movies. So you have to take You have to take it from my point of view, because it's our podcast.
I might like it.
Yeah,
although
you might.
Why they would remake the Equalizer of all the '80s cop shows, I have no idea.
And it's nothing like the Equalizer TV show. I mean, it's sort of like it, but not really. Like I saw an episode with Adam Ant from on it, where he plays a guy that that runs a bordello in New York City that kidnaps like young Midwestern girls and sells them into sex slavery, basically. But yeah,
No, that's not a very intimidating nickname either.
Animate.
No,
the Equalizer.
The Equalizer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man, isn't either.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's like a watch out or I'm going to equalize things. Like that sounds good.
yeah. It sounds like the lamest math-based superhero ever.
Or like a social justice warrior superhero.
Right. I'm the equalizer. We're gonna make everything equal.
I have some more tidbits about Uncle Drew that we've all been anxiously awaiting.
Okay, so let's hear Uncle Drew. I'm excited to hear this.
Okay, I wasn't aware of this, but Uncle Drew is played by Kyrie Irving.
Oh my God. Okay.
I was hoping it would be Dwight Howard, but it was not.
Okay.
Kyrie Irving, it's actually from like a Pepsi commercial where he plays Uncle Drew, like this streetball legend. So basically the movie has him, Shaquille O'Neal, Chris Webber, Reggie Miller, Lisa Leslie, with cameos by Steve Nash, David Robinson, Jerry West, Dikembe Mutombo, Nina. It's just
Oh
like
my God. So it's the
a
entire
ridiculous,
NBA.
like, idea for they made an entire movie out of a commercial.
Does this movie take place in a universe where the Earth is flat? Because Kyrie Irving is one of those people that believes that the Earth is flat.
Yeah, I don't. As we talked earlier about the never been to the moon thing, I just don't understand it. I mean, like I heard someone on the radio commented, maybe they should do away with the one and done thing, so people can actually get some sort of education.
No kidding. The problem is that people just will believe anything now. Oh,
Yeah, really, the problem is people aren't getting any stupider. They're just having more ways to express themselves via social media.
yep, I agree. I think stuff like this has always been. It's just we see it now.
Yeah.
But the next, I don't want to skip over this, although I haven't seen this movie yet. But Black Klansman was kind of the next big one that came out after the Equalizer and Uncle Drew movie. I haven't seen it yet. I want to see it. I think it's coming to Netflix soon, or at least one of the streaming services soon. I'm definitely going to see it before the end of the year, or before the Oscars anyway.
Oh, is it nominated for an Oscar?
Well, they haven't announced the nominations yet, but I imagine it probably will be, especially because they seem to like to expand the Best Picture categories. I think they have like 9 now, or something like that.
Yeah, that's right.
So I think it will probably be up for that. But
Yeah,
I hear it's very good.
Yeah, I'm not going to watch it, and the reason for that is because I don't think Spike Lee is a very good director at all.
I like one of his movies. I think it's Do the Right Thing. Did he do that one?
Yeah.
It's the one with Danny Aiello in it, where he plays the pizza owner.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I know he's in that one.
I like that movie a lot, and I think that was his first movie. I like that movie a lot.
It might be. It was definitely one of his earlier ones.
It actually might not be Spike Lee at all, though. I'm not sure.
No, I'm almost positive it is Spike Lee.
But I like that movie a lot. And Malcolm X was okay as well.
Yeah, I thought Malcolm X was okay, but again, the direction wasn't great. And just why did he cast himself in that movie? I mean, he's not a good actor. I'm sorry.
I agree. The next movie I saw was Crazy Rich Asians, which I expected to hate, and I didn't. I liked it. I saw it with my wife. My wife loved it, and I liked it. I thought it was. There's a woman named Aquafina in the movie, who is hilarious in the film, and I liked her a lot. And the movie was good. I liked it.
I'm sorry, we skipped over one that I saw actually.
Good.
Shockingly, Teen Titans Go to the movies. Like
okay.
you, I have young kids. I'm not sure if you watch a lot of like cartoons that they watch, but as far as cartoons go, Teen Titans Go is one of the funniest cartoons I've seen in a long time. It's something that can be enjoyed at an adult level as well.
Okay.
I went to the movie. The movie was not good. It's not even like as good as a week episode of the show. I don't know. I mean, I don't know why they didn't do a better movie, but I wouldn't recommend it if you're a fan of the show. It wasn't that great.
Well, that's definitely a show I will check out. I don't think my kids watch it, but maybe I'll get them into it so I can watch it too. But I didn't see that one. And I don't watch a ton of cartoons with them. Usually what I'll do is I watch a few episodes of any show that they want to watch to make sure that it's, not horrifying. And then I just kind of let them go on their own. But when they watch shows. But
Yeah, that's definitely a funny cartoon. That, like I said, can be enjoyed by multiple age levels.
that's cool. I'll check that out for sure. The next movie that I saw was The Happy Time Murders.
I wanted to see this one, but I just didn't go see it in the theaters. How was it?
It's terrible.
Oh, okay.
It's here's the problem I have with the movie. The idea of the Muppets or Muppet-like characters existing in a world with human beings and it being like completely messed up and, obviously not for kids and stuff is a good idea. I like the premise a lot.
Yeah, it sounds like it's. I mean, the previews too looked really funny. It sounds like a great idea for a movie.
The problem is there's too much Melissa McCarthy being Melissa McCarthy in the movie. And it's just, they go, it's weird to say, because of how subversive the entire plot of the movie is, they go way too broad with the humor. It's not like if they had gone with like really subversive, humor and stuff like that, it would have been really good. But, it's kind of broad humor and then puppets saying the word fuck. And it's like, and it's like, oh no, you had this great idea and you just ruined it.
That's unfortunate. Too bad Trey Parker and Matt Stone weren't available for this one.
Oh, they would have made this movie so fucking good. They would have made a great movie out of this. Absolutely. That's a great call.
Yeah, because obviously Team America was like a hilarious movie, but they just never want to work with puppets again. It was such an exhaustive process. So hopefully Muppets will be easier, I would think, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then towards the end of the year now, we've got a few movies that I haven't really seen because I don't have to review movies for the website anymore, and all the movies I see are just movies that we talk about on here. But Venom, A Star is Born, we saw Halloween. If you are interested in hearing our thoughts about Halloween, we did a episode on Halloween, so you can go back and check that one out. Bohemian Rhapsody, Widows, and Green Book. I really want to see Green Book because I love his last name's Ali. I can't remember how to pronounce his first name. I like him a lot, and I like Viggo Mortensen a lot too.
Yeah, Viggo Mortensen always takes on interesting roles for sure.
And so that's one I definitely want to see. Bohemian Rhapsody and Widows and A Star is Born, I will probably have to see for when I do the Oscar stuff on the website. Venom, I didn't see either. I've heard mixed things about Venom. And that is all the ones I have. Do you have any other films that you saw that you want to talk about from the year?
None that I've seen in the theater. A couple that are coming out that are kind of interesting. They're doing Once Upon a Deadpool. I only recently heard about that. Are you familiar with the concept? Yeah, that just sounds weird. It's like a kind of a spoof on The Princess Bride, from what I can tell.
Yeah, and I think what they're doing is they're taking footage they didn't use with some, like spliced together with footage that they also did use. But it's a PG-13 re-edit, bookended by like Deadpool reading the story of Deadpool 2 to
Fred Savage.
To Fred Savage, who's playing the same character that he was in The Princess Bride.
Yeah, that seems like something I could hear about and chuckle, but actually having to see it would just be grueling.
I won't go out to the theater to see it. If they release it on one of the streaming services I have eventually, I'll probably check it out just kind of out of curiosity. But yeah, it's not something that I'm going to rush out to the theater to see. I saw Deadpool 2 already. I don't need to see the re-edited version. And I mean,
the parts that they didn't use in the actual movie.
Yeah, what's the point? I know what the point. The point is to make more money, but because nothing big is coming out this Christmas season. There's no Star Wars movie coming out that usually occupies this time of of year.
Aquaman's coming out, which is supposed to be
yeah.
a big movie.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and I hear good things about Aquaman. That's probably something else that I'll see. Are there any movies that you're really looking forward to going into next year to kind of wrap this up?
The one I really want to see is Holmes and Watson with Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly.
I do too. Yep. Towards the end of the year, and I just saw a commercial for it today too.
Yeah, that's kind of a scary idea because it could be not so great. But every movie they've combined in that I can think of, Talladega Nights,
Yep.
Step Brothers,
Yep.
those are the only two I can really think of that they were just the two of them. Those are both great movies. I could watch either of them, anytime.
Yeah, and I agree with you. This is a concept, doing a comedy version of Sherlock Holmes and Watson. It's a concept where it's like, oh, I could see that being really funny, or also I could see that being really terrible. But
Yeah,
but I'm heartened that it's these two because, like you, I like Step Brothers a lot. I like Talladega Nights a lot, and I trust them.
yeah, I would hope that they wouldn't come together for some piece of shit movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you seen the previews for Mortal Engine?
Yeah, it's the London's on wheels and stuff.
Yeah,
like
that looks like the dumbest thing I've ever heard of.
The whole concept of it is like, oh, London's on wheels, don't get run over by London. It's like, what the fuck?
Another big movie that's coming out that I'm not going to see is Mary Poppins Returns. I don't know. What do you feel about that?
I like musicals a lot more than you, probably a lot more than most people. Mary Poppins isn't exactly a musical, but it's kind of a musical. But I love the original Mary Poppins, and I love Emily Blunt. I think she's fantastic. This is one where, like, I'm probably not going to go out to the theater to see it unless my kids, for some reason, are just really like, oh, we want to see this really badly, which I don't think they will. But I'll probably catch it when it comes to video. But like that trailer, they had what's his name, Dick Van Dyke. They looked like they CGI'd his head on another body. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen of him dancing, And maybe they did because he's like 95.
He's very old, but very still together. If you've heard him on a podcast recently,
Yep.
He sounds like he doesn't miss a beat, which sounds insulting, but it's really not when you're that age.
No, absolutely. If you that's a big compliment, and I'm sure he'd take it as a compliment. If your mental facilities are intact when you're that age, that's what we all want, for sure. But I probably, like I said, I probably won't rush out to see that or anything. I think Glass comes out next year, and as we said,
Yeah, I think so.
I'm looking forward to that. Definitely the Holmes and Watson that comes out towards the end of this year.
It comes out on Christmas, I thought.
Yeah, I believe you're
But
correct.
no, it says the 21st actually, so I probably will see it when it comes out.
Okay. And I'm trying to think of anything. Well, in Avengers Infinity War, the second part comes out in April. That's the big one. And Captain Marvel. Those are the two big MCU movies that are coming out next year. Lots of people are going to be looking forward to those.
Isn't the next Star Wars coming out next year?
Yeah, towards the end of next year. I'm not super looking forward to that, really, to be honest.
I wonder if this one will have lightsabers.
The Last Jedi sort of killed my enthusiasm for Star Wars stuff, so but
All the Star Wars movies do that for me.
I will definitely see it. Oh, I remembered the thing that I wanted to tell you, by the way. We finally went on long enough to where I remembered the thing I wanted to tell you. I don't know if you remember. Well, of course you do. What am I talking about? Last week, if you can remember that long ago.
I'm no Dick Van Dyke, but I'll try.
Last week we talked about the Dave Coulier segment from the Weekly Planet podcast.
I looked that up.
Did you listen to him?
I listened to a couple of them. I have to say I was a little underwhelmed.
Yeah, when I went back to listen to it, because I listened to it too, and I listened to the first one because I wanted to tell the story of the first one on here. And I think you'll probably agree based on what you just said. I don't really think that this is on Dave Coulier. Like,
Yeah, the first one when the guy asked about his balls.
yeah. So for anyone that doesn't know the story, I'll just go like a writer or a listener wrote in to the Weekly Planet podcast. This was probably like 3 years ago, and said that he had a story about Dave Coulier. He was working at a hotel. He saw Bob Saget stand up, and in Bob Saget's stand up, he said that Dave Coulier shaves his balls, and if you ever see him, to ask him about it, which is obviously a joke because he's a stand up comedian on a stage saying it. So this guy worked at a hotel. Dave Coulier comes in. Now, he doesn't start out the thing by saying, oh, Bob Saget told me, or I heard from Bob Saget, or anything like that. He just says to him, out of the blue, it's okay. You don't have to feel bad. Lots of people shave their balls. Now, could you imagine, like, just like being at a hotel and someone just out of the blue saying that to you with no context? So he understandably gets upset, complains to the manager, gets a free room out of it. This guy gets fired. So he's pissed off. The next part of the story is he starts working at another hotel down the street, another fancy hotel. Bob Saget comes in with John Stamos, and he says to them that he's got a story about Dave Coulier, and as he says, they're not interested in hearing it until I say that he took Bob Saget's advice about the ball, him shaving his balls, and he ended up getting fired, and they all laughed. And I think he thinks they were laughing with him. It's clear they're laughing at him.
They're like, Dave Coulier was not in the wrong in this one.
It's like, why did you do that? And then they, like John Stamos is like, yeah, this is why no one listens to Bob's advice. Kind of like, you're an idiot. So then they all have a shot of tequila while he's working to kind of show what what sort of judgment this guy has. And then he ends up not being the only person not getting asked back after the summer to work at this hotel. So as he says, the only 2 times he got fired were because of Dave Coulier. No, dude, this is on you. You asked a guest, or you alluded to a guest that he shaves his balls with no context, and then you drank on the job in your other job. It's your fault.
Although, to be fair, I think if I had the chance to take a shot with John Lovitz,
Stamos?
That's not it. John Stamos and
I would take a shot with John Lovitz.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Oh, did you ever hear John Lovitz? John Lovitz has a really dark sense of humor when he's not on stuff where you can't have that. But I saw him on a show, and everyone should check out this show. I know you'll hate it because you'll hate everything about what I'm about to say, but it's a really interesting show. Kevin Pollak has a chat show called Kevin Pollak's Chat Show, which is on YouTube. Everyone should check it out. He basically does like an hour or 2 hours, a lot of times, really in-depth interviews with one person where he kind of goes through like their whole life, like how they got started in acting. Really interesting stories, like stuff that you don't hear anyplace else, and he really gets a lot of people to open up. It's a fascinating show. Like I said, it's long, so you'll want to have some time to put into it if you watch a few of them. But it's really good, and he's an excellent interviewer. But he had John Lovitz on, and John Lovitz and Phil Hartman were very close, almost like brothers. They loved each other. They were very close and everything. And like Kevin Pollak kind of tipped his hand a little bit before he brought him out, saying that he's got like a dark sense of humor and stuff like that. But he said to John Lovitz, one of our friends, as he's like, because he's moving along in the interview, he's like one of the funniest guys of all time, our friend Phil Hartman. And John Lovitz goes, not so funny now. But it's just like, oh my God. But I guess like John Lovitz was like inconsolable, crying and stuff, after Phil Hartman died and stuff, because they really, they loved each other a lot. So he's got, like, John Lovitz's got, like, a real dark sense of humor in certain respects, and I like that. But yeah, I would take a shot with John Stamos too.
Yeah, sorry, I was looking at the list of movies for next year, and not a lot of good stuff coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we're gonna have to pick some stuff to talk about.
I hope you like sequels and remakes.
Yeah, that's what it is. I'm not looking forward to it, but it is what it is.
They're remaking both Charlie's Angels and The Terminator.
I knew they were remaking Charlie's Angels. I wonder if they'll get McG to do it again. McG! Remember when Christian Bale had that freak out? Just like, McG, help me, McG.
Terminator.
Yeah. Oh, God. Maybe McG will make both of them. He's a terrible director. Oh, my God. Anyway, so I guess we should probably wrap it up. This has been one of our longer episodes, but I hope that you've enjoyed it. As always, you can find us on Twitter at Massive Late Fee. If you want to email the show, and I promise I will check the email. We have a few emails that I need to check. I might read a couple next time. But if you want to email the show, if you have a question or anything, you can email us massivelatefee@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, Massive Late Fee. If you want to support the show, you can go to our Patreon. Obviously, I'll link all this below, but it's I think it's patreon.massivelatefee.com, or just search us on Patreon, Massive Late Fee. Chuck in a buck or two, whatever you can afford. It really helps out the show. If you want to listen to any of our audio commentaries, you can go to Bandcamp or massivelatefee.bandcamp.com and check out our audio commentaries. We've got a few up there. I think we're going to be doing Die Hard for Christmas, right?
Yeah, that's actually playing in the theater the same weekend that Holmes and Watson is. I don't know if I get to watch two movies in one weekend.
Oh, I don't know. We'll have to see. But yeah, so we'll probably do that for Christmas, and I'll let you guys know when that comes out. And if you could rate the show on whatever you're listening on, give us however many stars you feel we deserve, and tell a friend. That helps a lot. If you tell somebody about the show, and just like the old what was it, Farrah Fawcett commercial, if they tell two friends and they tell two friends, and so on and so on. Soon we'll take over the world, and that is part 1 of our plan. But trust me, it will be good for all of you if Mike and I rule the world.
Yeah, it might be. No more Star Wars movies, that's for sure.
And free shots with Dave Coulier and John Stamos, whatever you want.
Dave Coulier, not in the wrong.
No, I agree. And I listened to all of them. I went back and listened to all of them. I don't think he's in the wrong in any of them. I think they just thought of a cool name of a segment, and admittedly it's a cool name, but they don't have anything to back it up, because apparently Dave Coulier, Michigan's own, is a very nice guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'd like to thank Jason for the theme song. I'd like to thank Leah and Miranda for being our Patreons. I would like to thank who else do we need to thank? Let's thank our advertiser. How about that? Let's thank collectormount.com or comicmount.com. Either one will work and get you to where you need to go.
Either one is owned by a law-abiding citizen. That's for sure.
That's correct, and not Gerard Butler's in that. I always confuse Gerard Butler and the greatest actor in the world, Russell Crowe.
Yeah, they kind of look alike, and aren't they both Australian?
I think so. Yeah, self-professed greatest actor in the world, Russell Crowe. No, actually, I think Russell Crowe's Australian. I think Gerard Butler is Irish, maybe.
Oh, that could be.
Or Scottish, something like that. But if you go,
one of those.
But if you go to collectormount.com or comicmount.com and enter the coupon code LateFee25, you will get 25% off these already insanely low priced wall mounts, which are high quality and great. I'll tell you,
Yeah, I am shocked by the price of those. I'm no kidding. I mean, I'm definitely gonna look into that.
I'm getting some for the room down here, and I'm gonna put up some of my my favorite movies and everything, because otherwise they just sit around, you know.
Yeah, I don't know the last time I had a physical copy of any media that I listened to.
But yeah, that Van Halen album is going up for sure.
Regardless of where he was, if it weren't for the United States, Gerard Butler would be speaking German right now.
That's possibly true.
Which some of us might enjoy.
I was wondering how long it was going to take to get here, to get back to this. Well, that is our show tonight, everybody. Like I said, shout us out, on Facebook and on Twitter if you want, and tell some friends about it. Do some work for the show for once. No, I love the listeners. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Goodbye from me, and an Auf Wiedersehen from Mark.